All right, last week I had the chair of the RNC, Ronna McDaniel, on the program talking about the life issue. And I was commending her for leading the effort among Republicans to stand for life. Even when some are backing away from it, she's saying, no, we need to continue to address it. It's the right issue, and we need to talk about it the right way. And so I just want to encourage you to thank her and encourage her for taking such a strong position on life. And so I have a petition that I'm sending her just to encourage her. I mean, we're very good about correcting them when they get it wrong, but let's help them know that we appreciate it when they get it right. And you can be very helpful to me on this. When we commend them for doing the right thing, it helps build those relationships and it helps keep them on the straight and narrow. So anyway, if you'd like to sign that petition, text RNC, that's RNC, those three letters, RNC, to 67742. That's 67742. 67742. The word RNC. You'll get a link. You can sign the petition. Help me do that. All right, speaking of doing the right things, Republicans in Kansas, in the Kansas State Legislature, overrode the veto of their Democratic governor to pass a bill. Oh, it's a horrible bill. It simply says that you have to use the same facility that is in line with your gender, your biological gender. All right, it defines an individual's sex as their biological sex at birth. Now, once enacted in July, when it takes effect, this law will have an immediate effect by protecting not only women's and girls' sports, but also private spaces, including bathrooms, changing rooms, shelters, and prisons. I mean, whoever thought we'd have to do this? But I'm thankful for those leaders who are willing to do it. Joining me now to talk about this from the state of Kansas is the author of SB 180, the Women's Bill of Rights, is State Senator Renee Erickson. She represents the 30th District in Kansas. Senator, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so much for having me today.
I commend you on your courage and your bold stand to pass legislation that, a few years ago, people would have been shocked that you introduced it, thinking, why was it necessary? So tell us, why is this bill so important today?
I couldn't agree more. Who would have thought that we would have to define what a woman or a man is? But that's the society we're living in. So, what prompted it is we see what's happening across the country, and we have a Fairness in Women's Sports Act that we got through. We overrode the governor's veto on that this year as well, but also just a broader stroke because we have biological men in women's prisons here in Kansas. And so to define that that you have to go by your biological sex as determined at birth, either male or female, for privacy and safety, prompted the necessity of this bill.
Now, in the when the bill came up, it passed the House. It was, I think, one vote short of a veto-proof vote in the House. How confident were you that you were going to have the votes to override the governor's veto?
We were pretty confident because our constituents, most Kansans, see the common sense of this, know what a woman is, want us to protect the spaces for their daughters and granddaughters and sisters and mothers. And so I know that legislators were hearing very heavily from their constituents saying, hey, you need to pass this common sense legislation and protect the privacy and safety of our daughters. And so we were pretty confident. The House was one short on their initial vote. They did have a couple of people gone that day, and we even had a Democrat in the House come over and support the bill. Not in the Senate, but in the House, we had bipartisan support.
Well, again, Senator, I commend you, especially in Kansas. Sometimes we never know what's going to happen there in the state of Kansas. This is certainly encouraging and should encourage other states to take common sense steps like this. I'm going to ask you this question, not to facilitate the message of the left, but I want you to be able to explain this so people understand what's happening here. This has been reported as an anti-trans bill. Why are opponents completely ignoring the intent here of protecting women and women's spaces?
Well, quite frankly, because if we framed it that way, who can argue against that? You know, the very people who say that they are for women's rights, who want to protect women's rights, who try to champion that and take that narrative, are the very ones who are now saying, hey, you are anti-trans or you're hateful, or you know, they don't see it as a pro woman's issue. They see it as an anti-trans issue. And that's just the ideology of the left these days. And it's sad because this truly is about protecting women. And we've seen instances that have happened when we don't. And I'm just not willing to let that happen to my daughter and my granddaughters or anybody else's. And so this is a very positive, proactive bill, not an anti bill or a hate bill at all. But that's how they try to frame any issue that they don't agree with
Right.
these days.
Well, again, I thank you for having the courage and the boldness to stand and say it's not. It's about protecting women, and it's encouraging to see other states all across the country standing up and taking similar stands. So, Senator Erickson, thanks so much for joining us today. And again, I commend you on a job well done.
Thank you so much. And I hope other states follow our lead and pass similar legislation.
I agree 100%.